Hello and welcome to Guns and Gear. You know, I really love this time of year, man. It's starting to get a little nippy in the mornings, and before you know it, the leaves will begin to change. And man, all I can think about is hunting right now, and I'm really looking forward to the hunting season. I thought I'd make a video and talk about a specific type of knife that I like to use for hunting, and that's called a skinning knife. Now, when I talk about a skinning knife, it's a knife that I would use to field dress a larger game animal, and I'm going to call that at about a white-tailed deer size game and larger. And I'll use it for maybe field dressing and skinning them out, and maybe even begin to break them down, quarter them up. Might even use that knife a little bit for some butchering to maybe take a little bit of that meat and prepare it for the campfire, the camp meals. And along with that, maybe cut up some vegetables, things of that nature. But it's a dedicated knife for those types of purposes. It's not a knife that I'm going to use for anything else. I'm not going to be cutting rope with it. I'm not going to be whittling out any tent stakes or anything else. It's something that I just keep for game and food. Okay. And I pretty much carried a dedicated skinning type of knife my whole adult life, and I'll tell you what, the few times that I haven't, I've always wished that I had. Those knives are usually thinner blades, and they're usually light knives. They don't weigh a whole lot, so it's not a knife that I normally carry on my belt. It's a knife that I do usually have in my backpack or in my hunting coat or what have you. So with that, I've laid out some knives on the table here. These are all, in my opinion, really good quality knives. And some of them I've used quite a bit, some of them not so much, and even the first two I'm going to show you I haven't used at all yet. They're new to me. But they are different designs, and they're different steels and different grinds and things of that nature to show you that, you know, this does not represent all the different types of hunting knives, skinning knives by any means. Like any other category of knife, there is just a wide variety of shapes and sizes. So I thought I'd show you a few that I like. First up is a Bark River knife. This is called a Kalahari. And the Kalahari is, in my opinion, just a great example of a good skinning knife. You'll notice that the tip is above the handle, and that provides for a lot of belly for skinning. And also you'll notice that at the very top of the blade right here, there's a little bit of a bump in the steel, and that's there for a specific purpose. You know, let's just say that you've shot a nice whitetail buck, and you're going to field dress it before you drag it off of wherever you're at. Well, that's what this little bump is for. You make that first incision, you know, towards the torso there, and you spin this blade around. And this little bump rides along, and it doesn't let that tip get too low and nick or possibly cut some of the internal organs, which can damage some of the meat if you don't wash it out quickly. At any rate, it also helps with the smell. But at any rate, this knife right here is kind of robust. You'll notice it's A2 steel, and it's about 3/16 of an inch thick. And it's a 4.5 inch blade, so we're starting to get into a knife that could also serve as a hunting knife, which, in my opinion, hunting knives come in every shape and size imaginable. But I always look towards a knife that is good at some of the utility items that you may need, but it can also be as a backup a good skinning knife, a good game processing knife. And that is a great example of one right there. The next knife up is from Dave Beck, and this is called the Appalachian. And this is just a great example of a good skinning knife right here. It's got a little bit of a wide blade. You'll notice that the tip again is above the handle. And you'll notice that it has a lot of belly right there. This is only 1/8 of an inch thick. It's O1 steel. The grind is a full flat grind. So even though it starts out with some pretty thin steel, it's thinned up even more with the full flat grind, which really makes for a delicate but very sharp edge. And this would be just an outstanding knife for a skinning knife. This is a new knife to me, and I look forward to using it this year. The handle scales are oak, and I think they're rather attractive. I did not mention this, but the handle scales on this knife is Impala horn, and they are just great looking scales, and I love the way that they kind of add grip, and they're set off with some red liners. Just a beautiful knife. Next knife up was a skinning knife that my father had, and I've used this both as a skinning knife and as a hunting knife. This is from Ridgid, and this is not Ridgid Tools, but the company was called Ridgid, and hopefully this shows up right up in here. Ridgid USA. It's a stainless steel blade, 440C, and has a lot of sweep, as you can see in the belly. And it's a good robust knife. This is another knife that has about 3/16 of an inch thick, and my dad really liked this knife, and I could show you the sheath. The sheath looks brand new because he never put it on his belt. He kept it in his hunting coat, or a pack if he wore a pack, and just used it for table fare and skinning out game. The next knife up is another Bark River knife, and man, this is just a great design for a skinning knife. Look at all the belly on that. It's just a continuous curve. And this is called the Wolf River from Bark River Knives, and again, we're talking about a 1/8 of an inch steel. The steel on this blade is see if I can get that to focus in, is CPM S35VN, which is a high grade stainless steel. It has a convex grind, and it has a very fine edge. You'll notice that this also has a little bit of a lump going towards the tip there that can be used for the same way as the Kalahari, as far as making those initial cuts into a game animal to take the guts out. Great looking knife. The handle scales is Magasser ebony. Beautiful wood, very dense hardwood. The next knife up is a Nesmik inspired knife from Blind Horse Knives, which is no longer in business, but I think Battle Horse Knives is making this knife now. At any rate, this is, like I said, a Nesmik inspired knife. It's a pure skinning knife. It has a saber grind, 01 steel. It's about a 4-inch blade. And all in all, just a great knife. Now, I have had the chance to use this a couple of times, and it really does a great job in its intended purpose. One of the things that I really like about this Blind Horse knife is the handle. The handle is big. You can really get a hold of that thing, especially if you have larger hands. Some of these other knives, I wish they just had a little bit more handle, but this is thick. This is curly maple scales, again with red liners that are really dark red. It's hard to pick them up, but at any rate, it's a very handsome knife, and it's a very purposeful knife. Again, has a little bit of a hump there for running that initial cut up the torso of a larger game animal. Now, the next knife is my drop point knife, and drop point skinning knives are very popular, and Bob Loveless designed drop point hunter is probably the most copied hunting knife around, especially talking about a skinning knife. This is sort of a Bob Loveless design, but not really. I don't know who this manufacturer is, and some of you knife folks out there, if you recognize this maker's mark, it's basically a 0 with 3 dots above it. Please let me know, because I bought this knife probably 15-18 years ago. It's a 440C stainless steel. It has a hollow grind. Starts out with very thin 1/8 of an inch stock. Tapers down towards the point. It's a nice pointy point. And with the hollow grind, this thing is like a straight razor with a point. It's very sharp, holds that edge very well. This individual who made this knife really knew how to heat treat and temper 440C. At any rate, this knife, as you can see, the brass fixings are a little tarnished, and even got some little bit of a rust or something on the back end side of this, because all steel can rust, even stainless steel. But this has been a knife that I've kept in my pack ever since I bought it, so that's been 15 or 18 years, and it's just a great little knife. Alright folks, well that's just a look at a few knives, and I know that somebody's going to ask me about this compass here, and this is a little pocket watch type of compass. This is World War I issue. It was my grandfather's, who was a Marine in the Great War, World War I, and he brought this home, and he gave it to my father because my father was the outdoorsman of the family, and my father passed it along to me. So, alright, that's my video folks. I appreciate you watching, and remember to shoot straight on the range and in life. Thanks.